boy with big dreams and glamour life. Bright lights and boogie nights, the hype. Everything could be yours if the price is right. Grab your nothing and hold it tight. The first chance you get, you're heading out to the west. If the vision is what you won't regret. Move to the place where everybody knows ya, like Hollywood, Los Angeles, California. So you wanna be a superstar? Welcome to Hollywood. Quick money, fly women, fast cars. Welcome to Hollywood. So you wanna be a superstar? Welcome to Hollywood. High times, big dreams, living large. Welcome to Hollywood. One-way ticket and then you'll live this. Life of a superstar caught up in this business. God is my witness. You will never change. Only been here a day, already in the game. You change your name, you don't even look the same. Now you're on top of the world, only power the fame. Picture perfect, just like you planned. No longer him, cause you the man. So you wanna be a superstar? Welcome to Hollywood. Great money, fly women, fast cars. Welcome to Hollywood. So you wanna be a superstar? Welcome to Hollywood. High times, big dreams, living large. Welcome to Hollywood. You'll never get the best of me. 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 The time ticks away. You had your prey. Sold your soul for the road. Now you got to pay. Forfeit integrity overnight. Celebrity. Settle for selfish.
Hello, everyone.
Living dignity.
Let me know in chat if you can hear me, guys. Just want to make sure I'm coming across all right when my guest appears. We'll be ready to go. Paulie's in the green room, as they say. We're just waiting to get some more links out and share and help us out. Share, like, and subscribe, as they say. And Mr. Paulie's back. Now, let's get rid of that. And let's put you're muted there. Sorry, Paulie.
Hello, hello, hello. What's happening?
Hello. How are you?
All right.
everyone.
Howdy, New Zealand.
Well, hello to you. Let me do the introductions and we'll go from there. I'm quite excited, as you can see. I'm always smiles when I'm excited because I'm looking forward to this, and I'm going to be respectful to your audience. I'm going to try to be respectful to be myself. And I'm going to hopefully we'll have an awesome time conversing, and welcome to you from New Zealand, Whangarei, my beautiful city. It's a bit windy but sunny outside, and we're in the sunny north area. It's called Winterless North, but we're in the middle of winter, so long sleeves, hats, heaters on, and I'm cozy, so I'm looking forward to this conversation. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Paulie, and we'll go from there?
Well, I'm a Virgo. I'm 6'2". I like cold walks on the beach with very little on. With right, and I think that's all I'll share. Just kidding. Yeah, man. Latino Slant has been going on for about 3 years, and what we do is on the basic level we celebrate achievement in pop culture from a Latino perspective, uh, because I think most of it goes without any spotlight, and whether it's in front of or behind the camera, we bring you interviews, directors, writers, filmmakers, and one of my favorite parts of the channel. I love it all. We also have musicians on the channel. Those tend to be popular as well. Occasionally, I will do live readings of some of my favorite books and poetry, and yeah, I think it all kind of started many moons ago with my passion for Latin music, covering it in the '90s here in the LA scene. So yeah, that's a little bit
Awesome.
of a little bit of it.
Cool. Well, I mean, talking about music, I mean, I just started, opened up with a band from LA, Southtown, um, POD, Payable on Death. I'm a metalhead, just want to lay it out there. But I do enjoy hip hop and all sorts of music. It seems
Hmm.
over time I've grown to love music of all types, all cultures, even K-pop. You know, got
Really,
into that recently. Yeah, Blackpink. Kind of
a
enjoy that.
metalhead K-pop guy from New
Yeah.
Zealand. I love it.
Well, when I
And
was
it's such a
growing,
small world. I love that.
that's it, right? Like when I was growing
Mm-hmm.
up in the '80s, mid '80s, in a little town, right? Really little town, like 4,000 people or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. In a rural area, farming community. My dad worked at the one big factory. There was two at the time. There was dairy factory and meat works, right? So that was the whole supply line and economy of the place.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had all that money that was being made was put back into that community. And so like I just learned recently, there was one of the biggest, like, not even in the city, Auckland City, right, which is like one of the major things. And
Mm-hmm.
here, there used to be a store that everybody from Australia, like the garment stores from Australia, would bypass Auckland City and have it in our little town because there's so much money there. And once the dairy company left, around about very early '80s, just after I arrived, maybe I pushed them away. But also the FCO went down, and then you saw this money just leave, and so did the executives and all that, and then that small town basically kind of like fell into this disarray kind of thing because people, they limited the factory into a smaller, more concise place,
Mm-hmm.
but the economy suffered because of that. And if there's this song just came out just recently talking about music,
Mm-hmm.
Rich Man of Richmond, right? That resonated with me. I was like, dude, this is like my little town, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
where I grew up. My parents still live there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mum just dropped by yesterday with a whole bunch of food, and we're going to be talking about food as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, um, yeah, and I just felt like when you have that money leave a small community,
Mm-hmm.
that that wealth and that richness of people's ability to succeed and pay for their way through life is very lowered. And I think one of the things we see that now is that a lot of things that's going on around is that the way the world is hurting.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be out here going, oh, should be hurting it more by doing, but I think having these conversations allows us to connect with people in a more visceral way, in a more realistic and more authentic way. And I'm open to just going, hey, would you be interested? Would you be interested? Would you be interested? And
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I'm so glad that you decided to come and be a part of this. So tell us about your
Sure, man.
journey and how did you get to where you are, and and we'll pick up and I'll ask the questions along the way.
Mm-hmm. Here on YouTube, you mean?
Yeah. Well,
Right. So
America, journey, life. How family. Yeah.
right. Well, okay, well, that's a lot.
Yeah. Let's just do some,
Yeah.
little point, PowerPoint bits, and then we'll get
Right.
to YouTube.
Right. Well, my family's Mexican American.
Hmm.
We're Chicano, and my parents were hippies from Arizona, and I remember from the stories they were telling me, they would my mom would make. They were real hippies. She would make their own clothes,
Yeah.
and they would sell weed just to get around town. Back then that was a different era.
Yeah.
60s was a a very cool doable thing. Um, so I got a funny story.
Hmm.
My mom was 8 months pregnant with me, and they went to a Santana concert, and they dropped acid, and she was high. Oh, I hope she's not listening. She was high, and she fell down some stairs.
Oh.
So I laughed because she was fine, but I think that's that kind of
Yeah.
jiggled me around and maybe kind of put a dent in my head and made me the crazy guy that I am now. Um,
Yeah.
but no, she was always a free, independent spirit, and when she came out here to Los Angeles to get away from pops in Arizona, it was the 70s, and was a different time where you didn't speak Spanish, and
Yeah.
you didn't say you were Mexican, especially if you're running in circles that weren't like in
Mm.
East LA.
Right.
So it was just a different time. I had a great childhood, but I would get that shit from time to time,
Mm.
and I really didn't become kind of like actualized to where I wasn't ashamed of being that, and that kind of that more indigenous side of our culture
Mm.
until much later, until like college, you
Yeah.
know. So I took that as a passion
Mm.
and just started, tunneling back, music,
Yeah.
film, books. I read a lot of Chicano literature,
Mm.
Mexican literature. In fact, uh, I was rereading one that had a huge effect on a genre called magic realism, and in Gabriel Garcia Marquez, in Octavio Paz, a lot of these like really big time Latin American novelists that use the genre of magic realism, kind of like this supernatural, odd humor, you know, life and death, kind of at the same time.
Mm.
I bring this up because I'm fascinated by it. In they use that device in a certain point in this new film, Blue Beetle, and
Okay.
it freaking blew me away that he went there, and it was really cosmic. It was just, it was, and by then it was like the second hour of the film. I was just so into it. I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's cosmic, it's universal. I think that's what's fantastic about literature. Period.
Mm.
So yeah, man, that's a little. You know, there's a lot more,
Awesome.
but I don't want to bore you all.
No, no, that's fine.
Mm.
Tell me about East LA. You mentioned that a little bit there. What do you mean? Like, what's the difference? Like, well, if you weren't part of East LA or something like that.
Well, East LA, obviously made famous by Cheech and Chong, born in East LA.
Yeah.
I think got really made it a global name
Mm.
back in the day. Maybe Paul Rodriguez a little bit. Los Lobos is from East LA.
Okay.
Those guys, those musicians
La
have been
Bamba. Yeah.
right, exactly.
I
So
remember
Rich,
watching that. I
so
love that.
yeah,
Yeah.
so Richie Valens in La Bamba. Richie's not from East LA, which is
Mm.
interesting. He's from a city called Pacoima, and Pacoima is North LA. Like, and all that means is less urban, getting out there into the
Mm.
farmlands. That's where Richie's from. And East LA was urban, segregated, it's very close to downtown LA, just east of the LA River, which if you ever seen movies where they've shown the LA Concrete River,
Yeah.
Grease, Terminator, all those is the LA River. You go right east of it, that's all Mexican. All Mexican. And it's always been segregated by that part of town, and then later on by freeways, which kind of which kind of tore into East LA. Like I think it's 5 major freeways, man.
Right.
Whereas before they used to have LA used to have an incredible rail system, trains.
Right.
You know, Who Framed Roger Rabbit kind of touched on that, because all that stuff was bought and ripped off the land. Like they just took the trains off by the oil companies because they wanted freeways and automobiles.
Right. I was just thinking of like Warriors came to mind. You know, the movie The Warriors.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the particulars of of New York. I know they were traveling to a park to meet up with was it Cyrus?
Yeah, it's just this
And
whole
then
gang thing.
and
like,
then they had to get back to their home turf.
Yeah, but like the whole idea of just jumping on a train and just
Oh,
going.
gotcha. Yeah. So those are more subways and elevated. But LA was all now it does have that. Now it does.
Right.
Now it's come back a lot. But it's back then it was a very provincial town in a sense that when that part of East LA, you rarely ventured to Hollywood, to the beach, to Beverly Hills.
Wow.
Maybe if you had a job doing people's lawns, being the maid, right? That is the duality there. But East LA it's its own world. It's slowly been eaten up by gentrification. There is still a lot of character there, but my relatives grew up on a street called Gage and Whittier, and it's very rough. My mom wanted nothing to do with that for me, so we got out of East LA as soon as we possibly could. I think I was about 4 or 5, and we moved to West LA, and it's a completely different experience, man. It's closer to the beach, right? Multicultural back then, way more affordable back then. We're talking the late 70s, early 80s. And safer in a sense to where, I was a latchkey kid. You know what a latchkey kid is?
Oh yeah, I was one.
Okay, so you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I would walk home by myself. I would take the bus by myself. In West LA, I getting, my fascination for film began when I was 8 or 9. By the time I was 9, I was taking the bus by myself to a part of town called Westwood. And Westwood Village is a little concentrated, area right next to UCLA, a huge university. So it was always just like, pumping with cool energy. During the Olympics of '84, that's where all the Olympians stayed at in Westwood Village. My dad had a hair shop, and he would just give me money, and I would go. You had like within 5 blocks, you had 6 to 8 movie theaters, arcades, toy stores. I mean, it was everything. It was everything, bro. They're still up. If you ever check out Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the movie, in the movie, Sharon Tate goes to see herself in a movie, like Margot Robbie, I think, whatever, like whoever the actor is. That's Westwood Village. Like that's the Bruin. There's the Bruin and the Fox Theater. I mean, those are still up. All the other ones are gone. But back to movie going by myself. Empire Strikes Back, Superman the movie. I saw everything, dude. I saw everything.
Yeah, with us, like the closest one was here, which is like about hour and a half away from where I live. So
Really? Wow.
I never grew up around all that. I think the
Mm.
only video game thing we had was a dairy, little grocer with I think Frankenstein's castle or Dracula's castle and all that, or Pac-Man. But we watched VHS. Dad was right into technology and has always been into technology. He's 80 now.
Hmm.
But we used to, I saw Star Wars, Empire, and all that on
Well,
VHS. So I'd never had that big cinema experience growing up. In Fiji, though, like Bollywood is part of our life. Like you cannot not have seen a Bollywood movie growing up as a kid. We used to
wow.
have like they would put up like sheets or have a TV at a like a richer person's home,
Uh-huh.
right? Who was normally a business owner who had a shop at his house right there, and you walk up there for about 10 minutes and you sit down with the chairs out, and that you'd watch, you watch a movie. And that's how I grew up watching movie at 6, 7 years old and so on. But then like town is only about 15 minutes by bus, and you'd pay about 50 cents or a dollar or whatever to get
Mm-hmm.
there. And then you go and sit down and watch it, at a cinema.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, yeah, I never really had like movie experience until I came to New Zealand in like 1980.
Mm-hmm.
And since we're sharing stories, so here's a story that I was told that I thought was real, right? By a whole
Mm.
bunch of, you know, Indian elders, you know,
Mm-hmm.
old men in the village before I was coming to New Zealand, before my mom got married to an Englishman from here, from New Zealand, who's from England, right? So before I was coming, they said, "Hey, they have like people with light skin over there, right?"
Mm.
And I go, "Oh, okay. Well, you're gonna have to paint your hair silver. I mean, your skin silver, right? So you fit in."
Mm-hmm.
So that was me coming, knowing what white people were.
Mm-hmm.
And like
Mm-hmm.
it was just the weirdest thing. So yeah, this is like, I mean, we talk about like skin tones and stuff like that. I heard you mention that about colorism and stuff. That was really important. I mean, interesting dialogue, because I didn't even understand that in our culture until a long time later. And
Right.
I thought that was kind
We're
of,
yeah,
yeah.
we didn't grow up knowledgeable about colors until it was pointed out,
Mm,
right? Usually from another kid or whatever.
yeah,
And then if it was extreme, you get beaten up for
yeah,
being different.
yeah.
Um, and then your parents would try to explain it the best way they could,
Mm,
just depending on. But you know, um, growing up in Santa Monica, as liberal as it was, you still would get it in a much more, you know, kind
mm,
of, underlying kind of deceptive and condescending ways.
yeah.
Like, oh, I didn't realize you were so smart, Polly. I didn't, you're a credit to your
Huh,
race. Motherfuckers would
yeah,
say that. Sorry for the
yeah.
language.
Hey, this is yeah.
Yeah,
It's fine. You
but
you say whatever you want to say. This is for
yeah.
older people. Yeah.
So, you know, with stuff like that, I remember all it was one shame because
Mm,
I just wanted to fit in. I just wanted to be, I was an only kid.
yeah.
That's all I cared about, right? So, like
Mm,
I told you back then, I would just say I'm not Mexican. I'm like, native,
yeah.
Indian, like whatever's cool, because I just
Yeah.
didn't want to be affiliated with those gang member types, those cholo
Right.
types. I'm not like that.
Yeah.
Um, which was shameful. But as you're a kid, you just oh yeah.
Exactly.
Fuck.
Yeah.
So you know,
Yeah.
um, so that made me do that, but it also made me start digging into well, who are Mexicans? I mean, what are we? What's going on?
Mm,
Because we were at that time barely in the history books,
mm,
and you know anyone on camera might have had like a same Spanish name or whatever, but
mm.
they were different. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's not Mexican, you know,
Yeah.
you know, or they weren't, or it was like, um, it was obvious they weren't a Latino actor,
Right.
like Al Pacino playing Scarface or the
What about most
Cuban.
recently, Cliff Curtis? Yeah,
Yeah, you know
that
what?
was a huge thing up here.
I
Like in New
met
Zealand,
Cliff
that was a
Curtis.
huge
I
thing. Yeah,
met Cliff Curtis years ago.
right.
I'm glad you brought that up. It's so funny. That's
Mm,
what I was. Remember, I was saying in the pre-show, New Zealand, New Zealand. It
yeah.
was Cliff because the guy that created a television show. It's up right now. It's on Amazon. It's called Primo, which literally means cousin.
Okay.
Um, really funny. It's really good. It's
Right.
really good. It's a San Antonio family. I really like it. It's like
Mm,
a Wonder Years. He put up the post about Training Day, and it's an image
mm,
of Denzel, King Kong, got nothing on
mm.
me, and it said perfect film, and I wanted to respond because I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
when you hear
yeah. It's
Cliff Curtis
perfect.
say,
And
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
when you hear Cliff Curtis say carnal, he doesn't say carnal, he says
yeah,
carnal. I'm
yeah.
like, yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's the
And
way we
he's a good
speak, right?
actor. I like him a
Oh,
lot.
that's the
You
thing. Like,
know,
so I
I
say something like sometimes the right person for the right job isn't the good thing. That's when I say that, right? Because that's what I mean when I say that. It's like the
mhm.
right person, which means he's got talent. He looks the part, but I feel like he's not the person because that means you can. I don't know, man. Sometimes I
Yeah,
find it really stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? With situations like that. So I can't convert, I can't voice on it because I am not from that culture that he's taken the role of, right?
well, it would be like someone from my background going to New Zealand, doing a film about natives there. Your ear is gonna catch every single
Yep,
thing.
yep,
That's just how we grew up.
yep.
Like I'll know a
Oh, we
Cuban
did that.
accent different from a Tijuana
Yep.
accent.
We
Um,
with that
mhm,
accent thing,
mhm.
when Thor, not the most recent stupid one, but like the one
Ragnarok,
before that,
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok,
Yeah,
when he speaks, when the rock guy speaks, right? Uh, Taika's doing it.
yeah,
That's Kiwi accent to a T, right?
yeah. Yeah,
The
he's
way
pretty
he
funny.
talks, it's like we just like, my sister said she went and saw it 3 times because like that's her favorite. Yeah, that's her favorite thing. I'm like, yeah, but that's when they ruined, and I'm like, yeah, but
Did he thicken it up? Did he like really
no,
effective voice? Just him talking,
just probably
just the
slightly
cadence.
maybe, but
Right.
really, no, that's how we speak. Like, I mean,
I love
like,
it.
I've
Yeah.
got friends who are like that, but other friends that just don't. And so it just
So
depends. Yeah.
when Training Day come out,
Mm,
we were partying one time at this hotel, Hollywood and Highland, and I swear to God, Cliff Curtis comes down these stairs, and we're all kind of like, oh man, what's up? And all of us were Mexican or whatever. And he hung with us for a second, and
yeah.
he asked like, "What did you think of the movie?" He
Mm,
wanted to know how he thought, and I was honest. I was like, "That's a good movie, but you know,
yeah.
your accent was off." And he was like,
Where's my coach? Where's my
right.
voice coach?
But I've talked to so many people about this,
Mm,
from Bounding in the Comics, that was recent,
mm,
to the guys on Midnight's Edge. And here's the thing, in my opinion, is that
mm.
Hollywood doesn't give a shit about authenticity, right? They're
100% agree.
packaging,
Yeah.
right? They're
It's,
packaging. So
yeah.
who's ever that hot guy in the moment and he's connected to another star, they're going to package those roles
Yeah.
together. Like an agency will package those roles. So
Mm,
Cliff Curtis hit a wave after Whale Rider.
yeah.
I mean, he was in everything. I think he played a Latino twice, like in Collateral Damage
Yeah. And Once
and
We're Warriors, I think, like,
Once Were
once it
Warriors.
lifted both, what's his name? Gosh, now I've forgotten. Baba
Morrison.
Fett. Yeah.
Morrison.
Timur Morrison
Yeah.
and Cliff Curtis, like, blew them up. But carry on.
Right.
Sorry.
So no. And what I'm saying is that it's it doesn't matter. Like, let's say everyone is qualified, everyone is talented, everyone
Yeah.
is perfect for the role. They're gonna go with who's the hot name, who's connected to
Right.
what, and think about authenticity later.
Yeah.
But what has happened generation after generation
Mm.
is all these outstanding actors who are of Latino background,
Yeah.
American, going out after these films, they get completely, left in the
Yeah.
dust. Maybe they'll get a little line here and there,
Mm.
but they're often those roles are often go to people who are not Latino, or they'll completely whitewash the role,
Right.
and they're still doing that today. And you don't see that and I'm talking about the American market, the American
Yeah.
studio system. You don't see that with Asians or blacks, you know. And what's so odd now is that the U.S. Latino market is the biggest movie going block. So we're
Yes.
19% of the population. We come out regularly 30%, 40% to and help make a film a blockbuster like Mario Brothers, Avatar. It shows you that our tastes are very eclectic. We don't need to be seen to go see
Yeah.
shit, right?
Yeah.
But when you do,
Yeah.
you know, do a Latino themed story, and you got to do it correctly, because we'll know right away if it's inauthentic.
Yeah.
Um, the early numbers for Blue Beetle is I think this that first day. It's amazing how they get these numbers.
Yeah.
90% of the audience was Latino. That is huge. And they're calling it a flop, but so many people are not, or they're hesitant to go for now. But once the word of mouth
Yeah.
gets out, um, but the fact that 90% of the audience went yesterday and it made $10 million in the
Mm.
States, that's a testament. That's a testament. So that's listen. We could talk about we can talk
We'll
about
do that
that
later.
film.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to go back to whitewashing.
Yeah.
Is that it still continues,
Mm.
right? And yeah, it, it's of course it's always the best actor. They say
Yeah.
that I want the best actor. I want the best actor. Um,
But really, they
but
want the actor that's hot.
it
Right.
always you always leave out those Latino actors,
Yeah.
and their Latino roles. So what's her name? The new Bradley Cooper movie where he puts on a nose. He's playing the
Oh,
composer
who's playing a
maestro,
biopic as a Jewish?
George Gershwin. There's a Gershwin or Leonard Burns. It's
I
one
think
of
it's
those
Bernstein.
composers,
I think it's Bernstein. Yeah.
and his wife is Argentinian, right?
Yeah.
And it's played by Carrie Mulligan or something, like an English actress. It's like, sure,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah. Well,
This,
I mean,
you know.
Europeans are interchangeable, so it's not like like it's not like a black lady playing a white role. You know.
So what I'll get from the argument
Mm.
from all these channels that I've been on
Mm.
is that I'm the problem because I'm viewing entertainment because I want
Yeah.
from a lens of wanting of not seeing myself. What's wrong with you, Paul?
Yeah.
It's just entertainment.
Yeah.
Why are you dividing us? It's like, well, that's a great place to be from
Yeah.
because you've had diversity within your
Yeah.
stories since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
But I get a little taco,
I
and you're
I ca-
saying, "Oh, you can't like it. You can't call it. You can't be happy that it's a
mm.
Latino thing. That's racist." Like,
Yeah.
what?
I kind of approach it in a different way. Like
Hmm.
it's like, do you remember David Schwimmer? Right? He
Of
said
course,
Indians should have their own friends. Right? They should have a
Indians
friend
should have
like,
their own friends,
yeah,
meaning like a friends.
adaptation of, yeah, the
Okay,
TV show Friends. And I'm like, they already have it. It's an Indian.
it's in
It's
India.
made by Indians. They already
Hmm.
have that 20 something thing. They already
Hmm.
have it. They don't need your American
Hmm.
uh, IP that they can buy off you
Hmm.
to then change to make it like them.
Hmm.
Because the Americans have this weird way of looking at it. Hollywood sees themselves as the only thing that's doing cinema in the world, right?
Mhm.
And they're gonna learn the really hard way especially after these strikes, that
Mm.
no, you've always thought you were number one, but hey, Bollywood has existed for about freaking 60, 70 odd years. They
Yeah.
make 80 films, like feature
Crank
length
them out.
films, like 3 hours
Crank them out.
a
Hmm.
year, right?
Yep.
And that at such a low cost, and so they're able to get into the whole diaspora, right, of Indians, Pakistanis, Tamils, uh, Iraqis, Sri Lankans, the whole East culture,
Hmm.
right? Because they have subtitles now, right? And they
Hmm.
come with subtitles forever. And now you can
Well,
be a
also too, the
Tamil,
actors know multiple languages too.
exactly. And
Yep.
so you could watch like a movie from China, which will be in English, right? Or
Mm.
the other way around, which you can watch
Mm.
a movie from India, which
Hmm.
will be in Chinese. And
Hmm.
you could watch like soaps. Like I go to my auntie and uncle's homes and stuff. There's
Mm.
auntie sitting there watching freaking Bollywood. I'm like, because I just don't go for that anymore. My taste for cinema and storytelling
Hmm.
isn't all about like the jingly, little sparkly bits on the sari, right?
Hmm.
Which is a female
Hmm.
garment, worn, very colorful, for those
Yeah.
unaware. So,
Hmm.
and I'm not into like all the dancing, like 4 minutes of dancing, because for me, it deteriorates from the story unless it's part of the story, as like Romeo and Juliet storytelling. The music becomes part of the
Right.
story itself.
Right. It
Mm.
lends itself organically, and it doesn't take
Mm.
away too much. It's not formulaic Bollywood.
Yeah,
It was really overkill that formula.
yeah.
Hmm.
And Bollywood has been copying Hollywood cinema for so long, for decades. One of the greatest ones out there that has been like, there's a cinema in India that plays it every day forever since it came out in 1970s, called Sholay, right? Which is like by probably three of the greatest actor and actresses from Bollywood. Amitabh Bachchan and I can't remember the other two. I think
Mm.
like it's called Sholay. Is basically like Butch and the Sundance Kid
Mm.
remixed, and it's like the greatest. Like it's like
How do you spell it?
it's like Blade Runner,
Okay.
Sholay. Let me just remove this from
Wow.
here and I'll put it up. So
Cholet, 1975 film.
yeah,
Oh, Amida, yeah, he's
yeah.
incredible.
So
God, he must have been really young when he did the.
uh, probably
So this
maybe
movie's still
20s
playing?
every day in one cinema in India. You can just go
Incredible.
and watch it. It's like, imagine the amount of money that cinema has made just by playing that one single movie. Anytime you can walk in, you can watch it.
I love it.
So, so that, it's a riff on Butch and the Sundance Kid. It has such
Hmm.
magical moments. There's one-liners in it that will, people remember forever. I remember watching it when I was in Fiji. I remember watching it here,
Hmm.
on DVD and stuff. And so the Bollywood story has always been about the poor farmer kid trying to get along with the rich city situation, right? And a lot of times and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And so for one, when you come from a rural area, you kind of feel like, yeah, I'll connect with this, but then you soon realize it's something else. But I mean, I think this for us, I think for personally for me, like that's my own
Yeah.
opinion, is that I don't really need to see myself because I can always go and look at Bollywood. And that's the same thing when I look at
Hmm.
Spanish films. I don't need to see a Hollywood film to see Spanish language films. I watch a lot of cinema because I studied filmmaking for about 3 years. So I have a bachelor's in filmmaking and so digital filmmaking. So, I watch Hong Kong, uh, kung fu crime dramas, like, and sorry, crime movie, cop movies, Japanese with
Thrillers,
mobsters,
suspense. Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
and sort of all these different things. And like, so for me, I don't need to see that. But what I personally find um, disingenuous is when they switch things around, where they take something that's already there and then they
Hmm.
swap it for something else, like race swap. I find that very inauthentic, and I find that very
Hmm.
disingenuous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we talk about like what's best for the cinema. I don't think that's best for the cinema because
Mm-hmm.
that's actually ruining stories. And so if you want to say like take Encanto, I haven't seen it yet, but I
Which
hear
one?
it's really good, which I will,
Which one?
and because Encanto,
Encanto. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and had great things about that. I just haven't been watching a lot of Disney because I've just been offended by Disney, to be honest. And
Yeah.
I'm not gonna hate watch something and put money into somebody's pocket because if I don't like them, right? I'm not gonna buy your food, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I go to your restaurant just because I hate your food and because I want to let you know that I hate your food, take my money and walk away. I'm like, no, I'm not like that. I just want to let you know that I'm not even going to spend my money there. And so I find it like I said, like back to Damason. So we don't need to see a a Bollywood version of Friends, because they
Sure.
already have their own
No,
version.
that's just kind of ignorant of him to say that, maybe whether he was good intentions or not. But I want
He's
to go
just
back
trying
to
to
what
sell Friends.
right. I want to go back to what you were saying in regards to, hey, I can just go to Bollywood. They have that. Up
Yeah,
until very recently, Latin American cinema has
mm,
all been people who are fair skinned and blonde
right.
hair. And if it was anyone that was close to my complexion, they were an idiot,
Mm,
servant, or
right.
a clever fool
Yep.
who was like the court gesture, but was never taken seriously. Was never like the lead role. So, and that's Latin American cinema,
Mm,
and I'm not from Latin America,
right.
right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's some stuff growing up, and again, I grew up very American, so
Yep.
there's some stuff that I did check out,
Yep.
whether it was um, El Chavo de Ocho or El Champulín Colorado, which were more like
Mm,
kid shows that were so popular in America, but they always had like really adult and great, daily lessons of life and hysterical,
yep.
um, which are still big today.
Mm,
But so the history there has always been kind of weird, just up until very recently. And again, you know, Hollywood Hollywood is when I said let's go back to Hollywood.
right.
They started casting Antonio Banderas as a Mexican in several things. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, he's Spanish and he kind of looks like us, but he speaks weird Spanish. And, like, at least where I'm from, we've never met a Mexican that looks like that. And you find out, he was great Zorro. I thought he was a fantastic Zorro. And I think he's a brilliant actor. I love him. I love his movies in Spanish.
Mm,
He's just a different actor. So like a Diego Luna, they're just,
yeah.
it's their native tongue. It's just wow. Um, but he about 20 years ago he played a Mexican revolutionary Pancho Villa
Yeah.
for an HBO movie, which is really good.
Mm,
But a lot of people, Chicano people, Mexican American people, they won't watch that movie
yeah.
because of that
Yeah.
casting. So it's Hollywood's always strange, man.
Mm,
Like it's almost a catch-22. It's like, hey, I loved Al Pacino and Scarface. I
yeah.
love Antonio Banderas as Pancho Villa,
Yeah.
but did it could like another great Latino actor that of that time, could they
Yeah.
have benefited and maybe become a star?
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
I
It's
mean, that's. I mean, like that's what like.
So
Oh
this whole
gosh.
thing of being seen really fast, then you
Mm,
take that to a young kid
yeah.
who it's like, well, shit, we're not even good enough to play ourselves.
Yeah.
So it is important to get it right. Now you talked
Right.
about race swapping,
Yeah.
and I think for the most part, Hollywood has shown is a complete lack of care
Yeah.
for their story, right? When they're race swapping.
That's it.
Uh,
They just don't care.
right.
Mm,
So it's the when it works, right? A swap, a race or gender swap, and they care immensely about the storytelling. People don't care.
Yeah.
Battlestar Galactica is a great
Yeah.
example.
That's uh,
You know, I mean, you
almost,
had
man. Almost. Like,
but then the two
but
women,
yeah.
Starbuck and
Yeah.
I forgot the other, I forgot, and Grace Park.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
so those were gender swaps, those
Yeah.
were race swaps, but it was, the
With care.
story was
Yeah.
paramount, the
Yeah.
vision was paramount, and everything else followed.
Yeah.
Well, they don't do that anymore, and they want you to know they don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
That's
And
that's that's where
yeah.
I think it's really unfortunate because there'll be those really quality productions
Yeah.
like Encanto, um, that get thrown in with these, Little Mermaids, or I don't know
Yeah.
what, Snow White,
Yeah.
because they're hammering over our heads,
Yeah.
and people don't like that. People don't like that. I don't like it. You know, I much would rather have authentic stories
Mm.
of people's backgrounds, whatever it is,
Yeah.
than a race swap,
Yeah.
because ultimately is that we come off very one dimensional.
Yeah.
Namor was terrible. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like this, it's that, but it was trash.
Yeah.
You know.
It's it's
So
the
yeah.
idea that like you want your audience to hate what they're going to see and then expect them to pay for it seems so weird to me. Like why?
Mm,
I'm a comic book guy, right? So I create my own comic books. So the
mm,
last thing I want, right? The
that's
last thing I
great.
want
Hmm.
is to have someone come and pick up my comic book and go, I hate what they've done, to this, or I think I just lost my train of thought. But just why would I write? Why would I create something that I would hate people up to that I would hate people to read, right, or watch? Why would I do that? And like, what is about these creatives out here, so-called creators, writers, adapters, or
Hmm.
caretakers of legacies, right?
Hmm.
Legacies of great cinema and stories that have been around for decades and centuries even,
Hmm.
but they feel so much gore for them, right? So much
Hmm.
like you know disregard for what's come before. And
Right.
I mean, as a caretaker of anything, I'd always feel like, okay, how can I look after that? It's like babysitting, right? If I'm
Hmm.
babysitting, and I've done that, right? And who hasn't, right? So if I'm babysitting, I'm not going to go and go, you know what? This is what you need to learn. When the parent's
Yeah.
saying something else, that feels so horrible to me. And that's how I feel about these things. Like, why would I, behave that way? And why do they behave that way? And I think it's like the whole thing I feel is like there's a song by a Public Enemy, right? That came out way before
Hmm.
POD, which we played at the start. And it's called Burn Hollywood Burn.
Yep.
And it was with
Uh,
that one
Big
way
Daddy
back
Kane
in,
and Ice Cube.
yeah. And
Hmm.
that was way back in, oh gosh, when was that? Let me just
Probably like
check that out.
90, 91.
1990. So that is when it was number one here in New Zealand, if I remember right. That's when I moved. Gosh, seems weird. It came out at
Just
that time.
listened to that song the other day.
Yeah, and if you listen to the lyrics, like you read the lyrics, it's basically saying, we're the ones in your in your movies as maids, right? And
Yeah,
so on and so on. And you were saying the same thing just before
sure.
about that. And it's like, yeah, these guys, and so you see them saying that back then, and you're saying the same thing now.
Mm.
It's taken, gosh, how many, like, was it
Well,
oh,
yeah. I mean, listen,
30 odd years to get here, right?
it's even
For them.
been longer. Ever since
Yeah,
Hollywood has
yeah.
been in
Oh no, but I
existence.
mean like the song coming out and going, "Burn Hollywood, burn. This is my
Oh yeah,
this is
yeah. The
why we
song's still
hate you."
relevant.
So
Yeah,
it's yeah, so it's 30 years
probably
ago, and they're
more
saying
relevant
that,
now. Hmm.
exactly. And so you're in the same vote, going, "Well, you know, come on, man. Now it's time for Latinos and to
Well, it's or
Mexican
to
Americans
be
to get their
done
voice in."
correctly, right? If you're
Right.
gonna do it, then really go 100% and let Latinos writers and directors tell their own damn stories.
Right.
Because remember we talked about that ear for
Right.
authenticity.
Yeah.
Well, we can hear it in a second whether that shit's authentic or not.
Yeah.
In a second. It's like, no, Cliff Curtis, no.
Yeah. Well, it's the same as Tamara Morrison, and as a clone, it's like, check it out, it's Maori guy over it. It's the clone forever. Like he's all of them. He's been cloned as all of. That's how we felt like when we went to the cinema and saw him in there, right? It's like,
yeah, that's a big deal.
It's Uncle Tim up there and all that.
Yeah.
Forever, and that's huge. But then it was very quickly forgotten,
So I wanted to say something about race swapping, about reimagining.
Okay.
The more egregious the change that you're making to something that's been, a legend for so long, the harder it is for you to not only create a new audience, but to get the key audience back, which is the original fans.
Yeah.
So if you can get the original fans to go with you, then add new ones, and you were able to do something new, man. When Cobra Kai came out, a lot of people were like, this is how you take care of legacy characters. You bring in new ones. You respect them both. Look at the new characters are diverse. Da 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 da. And that was, in fact, Cobra Kai was an example I gave of when you have a diversity of characters of different backgrounds done right. And I said that to John Trent from Bounding, and he didn't agree. And it's like, well, that's what LA looks like. Right. That's LA. And that's another thing. For so long, you see stories from LA, and they're all freaking gringos. Like, hey, where are we?
Yeah.
Cobra Kai did a great job of that new generation and doing something great with Johnny and Danielson.
Right.
I wanted to be Danielson when I was little. What I'm saying? Like, I loved Ralph Macchio.
Yeah.
But the more I'm gonna do a black Superman. I'm gonna do a Latina Snow White.
Yeah.
Well, they're gonna come after you.
Yeah.
So why don't you just this is just me, right, brother?
Yeah.
If you're gonna do that, show us. Don't tell us. And unfortunately, in this activist bubble that a lot of these creators are in, this is all we're hearing right now. That's why Ziegler's getting such a hard time. Completely disconnected from reality. Young star. Has gotten such a hard time because all she's doing and has been doing has been really awful to fans.
Yeah.
To Gina Carano in the past, to Jeremy Renner. Granted, she was a kid when she said those things, right?
Yeah.
18, 19.
It was just last year, though. That's the thing.
Right.
It's like
she's
not
22
a child.
now, right?
Yeah. Last year, 21, right? So I don't want to
so
say
all that
like,
stuff about Snow White was last year.
But it's like saying that she's a kid. I don't go. I've got a nudge on me.
You didn't let me finish. You didn't let me finish.
Sorry, carry on. My bad.
So she's very young. I see her as a kid because I'm going to be 53. But at some point, you got to learn from your mistakes because you can't keep making the same mistakes.
Right.
Yep. Either someone in your team isn't telling you to shut the fuck up, or you think that you can say anything you want, and you're always going to have your fan base, and you're gonna float on air, and that's not how life is.
I think of her. I think of her like that Indian actor who played in Aladdin. Do you remember what he said afterwards?
Which one?
Aladdin, the live action. I can't remember his name. Aladdin. Yeah. So I can't. So
Will Smith?
No, the Indian one. Right.
Okay. Yeah. I never saw it. I do know.
Yeah.
I do know the act. Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
He complained about not getting roles after that, and I was like, you just killed your career, right?
Well, I don't
You,
know the story
yeah, it
behind
was,
that. That to me is different than what Rachel
yeah,
says. Okay.
exactly. But what I
I
mean
know
is
a
like
lot.
he would have learned straight away to shut up, right? And because I think the whole
Well,
thing
he's
was
calling
like
out Hollywood. He's not calling out the fans.
exactly. But I mean
Yeah.
like he's being vocal about situations that it started out being vocal about situations, and then now I kind of I think I missed the point there. But
No, no, no.
I
Right. I hear
I
you.
I
I'm with. Mhm.
it's just like you said, somebody in a team should have said something, but I feel like they don't care enough to say anything. It's like, okay, I mean, you say like she's sassy and all that, that's all we like, but
She's
there
spicy.
comes spicy, right?
She's spicy,
So
just like my New Jersey girlfriend.
right,
They
so
you know.
like
Um,
in you know,
but let's go
and
back
like
to what you're saying about this Aladdin actor,
yeah,
because what you would get is a groundbreaking performance
right,
from from an unknown actor of color,
yeah,
and then you never see them again
right,
because that's Hollywood. They don't know how to
right,
write for you. Like they
right,
might give you, hey, all right, uh, um, Aladdin guy, we got 10 other roles for you, just like the same thing.
yeah,
Oh, God, I'm not going to take that. Or maybe hey, why don't you
yeah,
play a terrorist? I'm not going to play
yeah,
that. And the thing is, there's another actor who looks like you who'll say yes to the role.
yeah, yeah,
So I think that's different. I think I like John Boyega. I
yeah.
forgot the other act. John Boyega is a good example. Just
The guy from
calling
you're
the
talking about the guy
hypocrisy out.
from yeah, you're talking the guy from Cyborg from Justice League, right?
Cyborg to an extent.
Yeah,
No, what he's talking about was the mistreatment of on set from Josh Whedon, which I don't
right.
deny.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know why he hasn't worked again. Okay, a lot of times, guys, a lot of
Mm,
times. Here's some inside scoop. Don't be too surprised, right? A lot of times, actors are very difficult to work with. Shocker. Though now the production will put up only with so much of your shit,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden you're asking, well, what happened to Miguel, that character from Ant-Man? How come he wasn't in Ant-Man 3?
Mm. Oh, Iron Man, right?
The the
Rhodey.
the
Rhodey
best
was
friend.
gone. Yeah,
Well,
Rhodey was
no, I
gone.
mean my point is that actor was
Yeah.
a pain in the ass to work with. So they
Okay.
just wrote him out.
Mm,
The funniest thing in the first movie of Ant-Man.
yeah.
And then they wrote him out a little bit in part 2, and then he was gone. He was a pain in the ass. And I had just heard about this recently. I was like,
Okay.
I was shocked because I always thought that this actor was pretty level-headed. But it
Mm,
just goes to show you it could be a thing where you're just a pain in the ass, really a
mm,
pain in the ass to work with. And it's not
yeah.
like you're Bruce Willis pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Like, well, they'll put up with Bruce. No, you don't know who you think you think your shit doesn't stink, pain in the
Yeah.
ass, and you're, at best a co-star.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an easy way to end your career.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about also too is those actors like Lupita Nyong'o, right? Is that her last name? God, I forgot. Lupita.
From
She was in Wakanda. She was in 12 Years as a Slave. She won the Best Academy Award for 12 Years a Slave. And she was in Them. She works a lot.
yeah.
So she's the love interest in Black Panther. She didn't work for years. They didn't know how to cast
Mm,
her. Here's this talented, beautiful woman, and then she was getting offered the same slave roles. Yeah, no,
mm,
thanks. So it's really interesting when it comes. And what's the common thread here, right? You know, People of different ethnic backgrounds. Um. So yeah, man. Going back to Ziegler though, you know, I really don't. I really could care less what a Snow White looks like.
Yeah.
Growing up, you see girls of different backgrounds dressing up as Snow White. That's cool, that's cool, right?
Let me
So,
just
mhm.
so I don't want to stop you there, but like, when I first saw her in it, I was okay with it. To be honest, she looked okay, and this
Yeah,
was the
she looks
crazy
like
thing
her.
about it.
Like her little
I was
face,
like, I was like, this is cool.
and she's a
And then she
singer.
put a tweet. Yep, and then she puts a tweet out. I'm not
Mhm.
bleaching my skin, and so she brought race into it. Like
No, no, no.
like
Yeah,
it felt like she,
someone asked me about that. WD
yeah,
Pro asked me, what was the timeline of that?
okay,
The
cool.
timeline was that she got announced, then the immediate backlash because of the tone of her skin, and then she's like, I'm not gonna bleach my hair, bleach my skin. That was pop, pop, pop. Like literally
Right.
happened in 24 hours. Not that it matters now
No,
because she's,
she said worse. Yeah.
but you're right, because if it was just that,
Mm,
right? It's like, I'll give it a shot. The Little
yeah.
Mermaid, I gave it a shot.
Yeah.
Fucking boring. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But Haley
Yeah.
Berry, whatever her name is,
Yeah.
great singer. To me, she's good looking, like, cool.
Mm,
But with Ziegler, I am a fan of her singing. I thought she was a really good Maria in West Side Story. The movie,
I haven't seen that, but I thought she was great in Shazam too. Right.
she was
I
really
did.
good in Shazam too.
I didn't even think there was the same girl. Right. I didn't even think she was the
Correct.
same actress.
And it shows you
I
what a good
love that.
actor, good little.
I love Shazam too. She was brilliant in that. I was
It's
like,
a good film.
what have you just done? What have you just done now? You've just ruined your whole career.
Well, for now, right? For now,
Yeah.
she's, there's a lot of heat on her.
Yeah.
Now, here's so let's go back to this production. It's not just her, how she says stuff, because
Yeah.
people hate how she comes across. It's
Yeah.
what she has said in regards to the new imagining of this. She girl
Yeah.
boss, Snow White. I don't need no man, no prince. People don't like
Yeah.
that. It's Snow White,
Yeah.
man. You know what? Go do something else then.
Yeah.
See,
There's something like I was watching. I watched the first hour of the 1937 animated movie because I was like, do I remember this correctly? Because what she's saying here, is it the same thing? I'm like, so I went and watched it and I was like, this stands up forever. This movie, like the animation, the happiness, the joy, the animals, even
well, the
the
pride of work,
dwarves.
the pride,
Yeah,
the values it was
man.
teaching, they're timeless.
Yeah.
And again, if you keep that and make her as if, right? Because the question I had was like, well, are they making her Latina, like Snow White, written as a Latina? Because to me, I don't like that as much as just casting the best actor. Because Rachel's an incredible singer, pretty good little actor.
Yeah.
But then, don't say shit until the movie comes out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Just go out there like, I'm so glad to be acting in this. Come and watch the movie, please. That's like when I was trying to
or even say, look, hey, to all the OG Snow White fans, I'm one too.
Yeah.
Trust me. There's some changes. We think you're gonna like it. Give it a chance.
Yeah.
There would be no story.
Right.
Half the YouTubers out there wouldn't be making money.
Exactly. But on the other end of that is you got Peter Dinklage, right? The guy who's made millions of being a little person, right?
Right.
Got his little bits and pieces. I think he even did he get an Oscar or get nominated for the train guy?
Train station.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Emmy award winning actor.
Yeah. And then turning around going, hey, I'm the only one out here allowed to be this, slap, 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 get away from us. Get away from me. I'm the only one who's allowed to act as a little person, and
well, thank you. That's the other point of that's another sticking point with the film.
Yeah.
Is that we haven't even seen any scenes, anything, but we saw these photos of these ridiculous looking 7 weirdos on a hill. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah.
See, I'm like the magical something or other from like some other universe that dropped in and said, "Hey,
It looked
Snow
terrible,
White,
right?
right? Yeah." It's
Yeah.
like, "You're Snow White. Yeah, we're the dwarves now." I was like, "Please." Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
some of the dwarves are bigger than her, right? Exactly. Yeah, and so you compound all that, and that's why
yeah,
you're getting so much heat right now.
yeah,
So much heat. And then you compound the last couple of years.
yeah.
There's just a
That's
there's
what
just a
really gets
large
me.
there's just a lot of people that are like, I'm
Yeah,
done, like screw it. And I'm
yeah.
gonna,
That's me. Yeah,
so yeah, I get it. I get it. And
yeah,
like I said, what's unfortunate is that kind of bleeds into everything. So
yeah,
there's no discernment
yeah,
of when something actually good comes along,
yeah.
you know? And
And
just because it's all black or all Asian, I don't know
yeah,
what,
mm,
that doesn't mean it's not for you. If it's all Asian with an incredible story like Beef, the
yeah.
TV show Beef, you know,
Have you even seen that?
oh, it's on Netflix. It's called Beef.
I was supposed to have a look at this. Yeah, I
It's
saw the ad for it, and and
it's all Asian.
so
My point
talking
is
about
that
like
it's such a unique take on kind of like a two people converging into their road ragers
yeah,
and the shit that happens afterwards. Fantastic.
mm, awesome.
And it's very Asian at the same time. Like they take
Yeah,
they make their sticking points, but
yeah,
no one's out there, on the press lines. Yeah.
yeah.
it
We're Asian. It's
can
out there
happen though,
now.
right? Like
You
they're
can.
Hollywood
Yeah,
does have those good moments,
yeah,
but it's like people just are just turned off.
yeah.
So I understand.
One thing I wanted to just ask you to do is, can you stand up? I want to see the T-shirt, and it reminds me of Purple Rain, and I wonder if they did that in the same for that
He
reason.
did. He did.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can get up a little bit,
yeah, yeah,
and then the back is badass, dude.
yeah. Let's have a look. That's awesome. See, I'm a
Yeah.
T-shirt person.
Oh,
I have all pop culture T-shirts that I
I
can get
love
my
it.
hands on. I've got like
Yeah.
maybe 100 T-shirts like that. I'm like all different
Yeah.
pop culture things. Um,
So Soto, the director,
mm,
who I think unfairly has gotten a lot of shit. It's always
mm,
different when you get to meet and interview,
yeah,
people. Um, is a total gentleman,
mm,
very talented man. He wanted to pay homage to uh, not only Latin
yeah,
American culture and music, but our American pop culture in the
yeah,
80s. And that was this Die Hard.
yeah,
There's some fantastic, angles and images paying homage to Die Hard. I mean,
mm,
like, it's just a lot of fun. I you know, he learned a quick lesson not
yeah.
to mess with fans. I think you know what I'm
Which a lot
saying.
of people don't. Like I mean, like this is the thing. Like they don't realize the fans are the ones with the money, right? The moolah, right?
Hmm.
With the cash.
Yeah.
If they don't like something, they'll let you know. We've done this forever, you know.
Well, I think. All right. So listen, people's political views are one thing, and
Mm,
he has his political views, and he's
yeah,
like a borderline, socialist,
mm,
that views his homeland as a U.S. colony,
mm,
colony,
mm,
Puerto Rico.
mm.
And he's not the only one that feels like that. There's a lot of
Sure.
Puerto Ricans that live there. I get it,
Yeah,
you know, but I could put that aside and
yeah,
watch a movie if I like this guy's films. I'm
mm,
sure I'm not gonna like all of Nolan's politics, but I don't give a fuck.
sure.
I'm gonna watch his
Yeah,
movies. He's amazing.
right.
Um, but I think what happened was that fascist line in the trailer
Yeah,
was really unfortunate because
yeah.
what is that?
Batman. This whole wall here is Batman. So when you say something like that,
Right. It turns you
you
off.
better know what you're saying, right?
Right.
And
Well,
that's just the toys,
in the
not the
film,
comics.
so
Yeah,
in the film, it makes sense.
sure. Not in
But
the trailer though.
but in a trailer, like that sucks.
Yeah.
And then when he said my work here is done in regards to agitating fans, he
Hmm.
got a swift
Hmm.
lesson.
Yeah.
And if you notice, he turned it around really quick.
Yeah.
Um, it's probably gonna keep hurting the film.
Yeah.
I think that we talk about compounding problems, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't just that, right? It's the Flash. It's letting go of Henry Cavill. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Hamada. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
it wasn't just him. Again, if it was just isolated and
Mm.
but it's
And
like,
then he comes and puts in the whole Bane thing, and challenges the creators of Bane, and
well,
that sort of made it even worse.
he didn't challenge the creators. What
The
he
the idea behind why the story was and how Bane came about, and so there was that became another compound.
I there I think there I think YouTubers were just looking for shit to pick at. Okay, then we got, you know what I'm saying, like that happens too, guys.
Yeah,
Okay, we
making
you ever
what was that
work
mountain out of a mud hill, right?
right, or yeah, or you're driving a clutch and you're stuck in
Yeah,
gear, right? You keep grinding.
yeah,
I think it's been happening a lot,
yeah.
and it happened there because someone asked him, "Hey, you had pitched a Bane
Mm,
thing years ago
right.
to Warner Brothers. Can you tell us about that pitch?"
Mm,
Oh yeah, sure. I'll tell you. It was my take on Bane, where
yeah,
he used the loose origin of Bane being Latin from a made
yeah,
up, island,
yeah,
and he added his worldview as a
mm,
Latin American onto Bane.
yeah.
And I got to tell you, to me, that seemed way cooler than Nolan's Bane,
Right,
right? You know, it's director throwing a pitch to a
right.
company. When you throw a pitch, Aru,
Oh yeah,
you want to be so different, you get the job. You
exactly.
want to like be so creative. Oh wow,
Yeah,
that's great. It was a
yeah,
pitch. This wasn't something that they told them that they actually said
yeah.
no, but we have Blue Beetle. So
Right,
what he did, he took the best elements of that idea and put it on Carapax.
right.
That was probably the best part of Carapax in this film. Was
Cool.
was his was how Cord Industries screwed him over as a kid. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, that's pretty good.
Mm.
That shit happens.
All the time. I mean, like talking about like pitching, right? I got ripped off of a movie
Tell me.
pitch. Yeah, so I'm part of a publisher called Rising Sun Comics, and I
Mm,
I wrote a a one of my original characters, Red Dot, and
hmm,
his story and how he comes to be, and I kind of made it really grounded, kind of like
mhm.
and then I wrote it like a 50-page, sort of like outline and like a pitch.
Yeah, your
It was
Bible.
ta-
Hmm.
yeah, it was taken like with dialogue and stuff, like a short and script.
Nice, nice.
Taken. It was offered to a studio,
Uh huh.
so they said no. Two people in the room basically took it and made a movie very similar, but also in New Zealand, right? Because it was about to highlight my like I mentioned at the start there, Winterless North, my northern New Zealand area, right, the
Hmm.
topmost, with all the beaches, with all the restaurants, the areas, the mountains, all that, and just this relationship between this American lady who comes over and so on
Hmm.
with the local gentleman, and it also takes into part talks about a suicide story and this help they try to bring all this really hardcore stuff that happens, but also all that stuff. But so they said no to that story. They took the same story, they regurgitated it, made it here, and then you know what they did? They went to Australia and made one just the same in Australia. So these people took it out of Hollywood's, right? So I understand the pitching and stuff, but what I think is that like
Well, yeah, and in your story, your example,
yeah,
happens almost every day.
exactly,
As far
you know,
as
yeah,
Hollywood ripping off ideas, if they can get away with it, they do.
yeah. Well,
and they leave they leave that talent out. It still
and then
happens,
yeah, and
unfortunately.
now they sort of like, I mean, now there's, never mind. I was just thinking about the artists and stuff like that right now, like with the AIs ripping off artists. Like in comic books, right? So you can put in your chat GPT and you can come up with like with the art AI, whatever, and you can come up like 100 years of comic book or 80 years or whatever of comic book artists out there, and you can just come up with another image similar to them. Same thing. Like I was listening to John Agnew on Film Threat, and he says the topmost guys are doing the same thing with the writing, with these stories, right? With the scripts. Put in a couple of things and gets thing, put another thing, get thing, and now this is your script. But they're telling us that AI is a bad thing. So I'm sorry, I just jumped onto there. My brain just had
No,
a
that's
bit
fine.
of a
That's
gas
fine.
leak.
I get it. I get it. You know, there's been so many revolutionary advancements
Yep.
and changes in how we uh, create entertainment, how it's delivered, how it's seen. No one would imagine this 20 years ago, 30 years
Yeah.
ago, as far as the actors or the writers. They're just actors and writers, right?
Yeah.
So they're playing mad catch up. And,
Yeah.
and so they have some valid points. Some are a bit silly.
Yeah.
The Writers Guild was very close to
Yeah.
an agreement yesterday. Fell
I
through.
I put up a little video with my little toy over here somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
you know, with Shazam, right? Like I said, I like that movie, and both of them, I love both of them. I think he got hard done by because of that other movie with Black Adam,
Mm-hmm.
and Henry Cavill thing. And but I love Shazam 2. I thought it was really cool. But the idea that they can't talk about their past achievements and they can't promote movies they're already in, that galls me. It's like, I paid you to do a job. You took my money, and this, I'm being like this, facetious, as a studio. You took my money. You got paid to act. You're living off my money. You're going all over the place on my money, on my dime, right? Living in hotels, eating good food on my money that I paid you for the role that you did, and then you can't promote it,
Yeah, it's
and you're
separate.
hurting.
They're
Yeah.
separate.
So that I'm happy with that. I'm really, really happy with that. I'm backing them 100% on that. And then also on the AI thing, I back them 100% on that. But there's things they bring in here that's well, I'm not really sure that you guys would be like, get my backing, because over the last few years, you guys have been treating us like crap. And now we're going to, be opposing just because of that
Okay.
one thing.
All right. So there's
Hmm.
a the residual system needs to be just completely modernized,
Yeah.
because think of beta machines. They're still on
Mm.
beta when it comes to the residuals. Then
Yeah.
these YouTubers talk about, you get the deal you negotiate. Well, that's
Yeah.
what they're doing,
Yeah.
because they never were at a place where they can get a fair deal, because they were
Yeah.
working off the old. So there's
Yeah.
residuals, there's AI, there's a couple other things that are very important to bring up. But you said something about how they treat us all like shit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, those are the actors that you hear from, correct?
True.
Like red carpets interviews,
90% don't. Yeah.
red carpets interviews.
Yeah.
All right, the stars.
Right.
So of all those red carpets interviews,
Yeah.
what's the percentage of those actors that you hear from?
For about
That
1%.
no,
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Carry on.
no, that's right. So from those celebs that you constantly hear from, what do you think? What to you is a percentage that are that are saying shit and that are just saying whatever, but nothing offensive? In your
It's
opinion,
it's 1 to 99, because I mean, I can, like, you've got all
so
these other
out of
workers.
10, 5 out of 10,
Yeah.
7 out of 10 celebrities say
Probably not even.
bullshit, or all of them? All right.
Probably 1%, 5%, something like that. If you really
So
think about it. Yeah.
so you're saying 50%. say rude shit?
No, I don't even think 50% says that. It's like it's only like a handful who are
Okay,
very vocal.
okay, so it's a vocal minority from the celebrities that you
Yeah.
hear from. Okay, so those celebrities, so it's a minority of a minority, because that minority is maybe 5% of all working actors.
Right.
So the majority, the super majority of actors, you never hear from.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I get you. They ruin it for you.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to back you up. You fucking son of a bitch, man. You know, it's calling me a racist, calling me this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get it. And that's unfortunate.
Mm.
You know, because the union and those all those working actors you never hear from. It's unfortunate because you want to hear from a star,
Yeah.
because they'll shed light on the situation. So again,
Yeah.
let's go back to Ziegler.
Right.
What Ziegler said was actually true.
Mm.
It's just how she said it, like a
Right.
pendeja, right? Pendeja is like a female asshole.
Right.
You know, all
I've
like,
never heard that before because I've always had pendejo, right? I've always had that in
yeah,
movies, and
hey
all that, but
pendejo,
never the other one. So,
hey pendeja, complete pendeja, right? Fucking, where she says
yeah.
how she says it, but what she said was, if I'm going to work 18 hours doing
Yeah.
whatever, I
Yeah.
expect to be paid for every hour that it's streamed. And she's absolutely right, because she
Mm.
represents a growing trend of
Mm.
actors not getting paid union work,
Right.
not getting paid those residuals. And the thing
Right.
is that this career of being an actor, you're high 1 minute, you might not get another job for 10 years.
Right.
So I didn't like how she said it, but she was on point with what she said.
Right.
Um, and there's some other stuff in regards
Mm.
to how the industry's changed, to where co-starring actors, guest actors, like, Romy, my girlfriend, is a really great co-starring
Mm.
actress, guest actress. She's worked her ass off to get to that height.
Right.
The industry's changed to where movie stars are now on television
Right.
a lot, and
Especially with
that has
streaming,
ruined
right?
it for actors like Romy,
Yeah. So,
because they're ones here with these roles,
mm.
they're down here for these roles. They're ones getting paid high, they're not getting
Mm.
paid this,
Right.
and that line just kept going down, brother. And
Yeah.
then, let's take Romy for example.
Mm.
She'll work a week on Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's say the payment was $10, but then you
Mm.
got to pay your agent, your
Yeah.
manager, the tax man, the feds, state, local.
Yeah.
That $10, you're gonna get $2.50 back.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I really feel for like
Yeah.
everybody else apart from these very aggressive people, like actors who are out there like me. And it's like, well, what about the people who are doing the lighting and stuff? Like, I mean, I've learned all that stuff, right? Being, in film stuff. And I'm thinking like that's a guy that stands there like this, right? For 18 hours a day that you're sitting down probably 10 of, right? Or even 7 of, or probably about 12 of, and you're only there for about 2 hours in front of the thing. But there's that guy that's there all that time standing like that. But
Mhm.
the other thing I was thinking is just while we're talking about Romy, I just want to let you know there is a comic book that I'm writing called Fantastical Romy,
Oh yeah. Oh
ROMI.
cool.
So just let you know. So
Fun.
it's not because of you, but I want to let you know it's already written. It's called Fantastical Romy.
Fantastical Romy. I love it.
Yeah,
She is
it's part of a.
fantastical. She's a hoot, man.
There you
She's a
go.
hoot. I gotta tell you, bro. We went to our one thing today. We got invited.
Are you allowed to share it though? It
Oh,
could
I'm gonna
get you in
share it.
trouble later.
No. I'm gonna share it because this is how I feel. And it was it's a local candidate for city council, and we're like,
Yeah,
let's go. But she was holding the event at our favorite pizza place. I'm like, all right, well,
right.
we can order our pizza, and time to go. And then like we were there for a few minutes. Then Romy looked at me, said, "Time to go." because it's like, politicians
You're
are just,
so in sync, right?
yeah, we are, man. She keeps it real, and she's
Yeah.
helped me as a man really get my life more together. Coming up on 8 years. God bless, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, man.
There for the grace of God, right?
And therefore, there. Yeah, that's right. Are you a friend of Bill's?
Bill.
No, yeah. Okay, don't worry about it. That's a little sober code talk.
All right.
Fantastic.
No, it's just like, I mean,
Yes,
it's like
copyright your shit.
yeah,
Copyright your shit, guys.
every story has that in it now because I've been ripped off before. Like even a logo was ripped off for a character for a
Bro,
clothing label.
bro,
Right?
man. I
So
like, I
yeah.
have a novella coming out,
All right.
and it's 32 pages. We're gonna have a whole, release party here live on
Awesome.
our, it's gonna be. I'm gonna have like a couple actors reading from the book.
Awesome.
But yeah, I'm getting all that trademark too. Because it's
Like
a
even
bad.
before I call names out, like of characters, of titles and stuff, when I share online, it's always got a TM behind it. I know, so
Good.
it's always dated.
Yeah.
I kind of learned this like early on, but I remember like I had a clothing label called Rising. I think it was called oh gosh, I can't even remember the name of it. But I had this like logo made. I went away to film school, came back. It was emblazoned on TV. Right. And I'm like, I spent 3 months drawing that. I spent, a couple grand on it, on the getting it all put into like embroidery for the labels on the t-shirt,
Mm,
logos on the clothing and all that. And
hmm.
it was like, I don't have 10 grand to fight this,
Yeah.
and now it's going to be like on my superhero. So, and it's going to be great. And nobody can say anything about it because I have the clothing right there, say, look. But I think this is like, I mean, we talk about like how Hollywood mistreats, actors, but they also mistreat creatives as well,
Sure.
and we're
Oh
finding
yeah.
that out all that more and more. And like,
Yeah.
it's
Oh
kind
yeah.
of, it's,
Hollywood's equal opportunity abuser.
yeah, yeah.
I
One,
mean, the hypocrisy of Hollywood. You guys as fans are just finding out one facet of it that's kind of like
yeah,
new and ugly. But
yeah.
as far as the hypocrisy of racism and how they try to
Mm.
claim this and claim that, they've been racist this whole time.
It's, it's almost like race swapping is them being racist. There's like your race doesn't matter. I'm just going to take that race that
Yeah.
this thing is,
Right.
and I'm going to
Right.
just shove that race on there.
Right.
And your identity, your ethnicity, your culture, it doesn't matter because we can just swap you out for whatever. And and it's like, well, I thought you guys were saying that you were all PC and woke. It's like, we know you're not, but I mean, but we are saying we are. Look, we can, we're doing it for you. And I'm like, don't even try. So I want to just bring this up because I just saw another like
Mhm.
I was I back in the 90s. So there's like with Image Comics, with Todd McFarlane, all the the greats like
Mm.
from like Spawn and stuff, who created like Rob Liefeld, Deadpool, Jim Lee from gosh, who's over at DC now, walked out, especially with Rob Liefeld when he realized that he wasn't, that $40,000 for his number one selling comic at that time, which was
Mm.
like X Factor, X Factor #1, the original artwork sold at Sotheby's for 40 grand, and that 40 grand went into Marvel's pockets. And he went, my artwork that I created didn't even come back to me, even though they've made millions. Like it was $1 million selling, a million issue selling comic, right?
Yeah.
So they took all that money, but they
Uh-huh.
also take his original artwork and the money for those, they sold off the artwork and they took the 40 grand. And he's like, no, But here's the thing, right? So these guys, even though they did that, they're not into unions themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though they did that, they walked out, formed their own comics, Image Comics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've watched documentaries on them, and like I've actually fashioned Plunge Comics, my own IP like that, based around what they were doing. And like in the comic industry, we have this lesson. We've learned this lesson, right,
Mm.
about like how creatives are mistreated. We've seen how like Ken Kirby, Jack Kirby was treated, and so everybody is out there going, okay, we got to do original content. We got to look after our creation, and so on. So I wonder with these writers when they go, well, and I look at the director of Blue Beetle, right? So he's got this idea for doing this for Bane, and the guy goes, no. The studio goes, no, why don't you do this? And he goes, okay, cool. So my first thing would be like, okay, I'm going to do what they tell me. I'm going to take that money. I'm going to go do an independent film and put into that everything I want to do. And then come back and do another film, whatever they tell me. Then I'm going to go and do my own little thing. That's how I do look at things. Like when I started doing comic books, I was like, yeah, I could write this really cool pitch. And which basically one of them they actually just created, which was Wolverine versus Predator, right? Which is a new one coming up. And I came up with that. I don't think it's an original idea, but I came back up with that in like about 2010. And I was talking to an actual writer at Marvel, and he said, "Look, dude, you can either pitch that, you can pitch it to them if you want. Just don't tell me anything." So I hit it there, and I went like, "This versus this versus this versus this," and it'll be a cross company thing. And I was like, you know what? What if I just do my own, and I can do whatever I want, So I think it would be cool to see whatever he could do with this thing with whatever he wanted to do with Bane. But what if he created his own character, right? Taking this money from Blue Beetle and went out there and did an independent film with his own correct character. And I don't know how much money these guys make, right? Sometimes they go, you get 10 millions or whatever. It depends, whatever the percentage they get of the success of the film, and so on. But yeah, I hope, maybe I'll go and have a watch Blue Beetle. Hopefully it'll be a cool one. And
okay, yeah,
and we'll be and we can talk about that later and go, hey, I'll do a little review of it and see what it's about. But hopefully, it'll die. This controversy around it will die down. So with that, I want to thank you, Paulie. Thank you for being the first episode of Plunge-POP.
All right.
I really enjoyed this. And Plunge-POP for me is basically talking to internet personalities, pop culture commentators, really just, how they come to be where they are. And we didn't talk a lot about, but we know,
we talked enough.
Yeah, we know your passion. We know your passion. And
yeah, we want to talk. Yeah, people want to hear current events. It's always fun.
Yeah, and you guys can check it out on Paulie's
really quickly about Soto. He does have 2 independent films that he did before.
Cool.
So you can check those incredible films out. Yeah. So those were like passion projects. It kind of took everything he had to get those done. So he was discovered from his second film that got him the Blue Beetle job.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So you guys can check out that. Check him out on IMDb. And with that, I also want to grab Paulie. Do you want to put up your gosh, I had it somewhere here.
Yeah, I'll give
your
it to you.
Link to your
I'll put it in the private chat.
Sure.
This Monday, we're live every Monday, but we're going to we did a quick interview with the director last night. He came to our event, our Blue Beetle event. And so this Monday we're going to debut the Soto interview. I think I only was able to get 3 questions out. I will tell American Cholo. Oh, that's different. Yeah.
I just want to talk about it just as we finish here because I saw your interview with the director there, the actor, sorry, and I think
one of the subjects in it. Yes.
Yeah. I love stuff like that, man. I really do. I love. We didn't mention a lot about cooking and stuff, but I love that sort of realism and learning about people's culture in that way. Where people are talking about their own thing from their own voice. And I remember watching a documentary about tattoos around the world,
Mm.
and there was a specific one about the I guess the American Cholo culture around tattoos and
Mm.
stuff. That was
Mm-hmm.
amazing. I really enjoyed that. And so, guys, um, check out that interview on this channel. There it is, and the link. I'm sorry, in the chat there. You guys can
Mm-hmm.
click on that. But do you want to quickly talk about American Cholo, and then we finish off here?
Yeah. Well, so for people kind of outside of the U.S., Cholo is a kind of a particular type of Mexican American guy who hangs out in the neighborhood. You know, the Cholo. So there's a YouTuber called the American Cholo who has very based uh, takes on our society right now, and his name is Gil the American Cholo. He's fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Has a huge channel, and he was one of the subjects in a new documentary talking about the last 100 years of Chicano history in the states. It's absolutely incredible. It's really done really well. He's in it, and one of the things that we had talked about in regards to woke policies is that they don't really work on the streets. They're not practical. They sound good, they're lofty, pretty, be nice. But the reality is in the streets is that, you know, you go and try to, you know, hug a thief, hug a criminal, you see what happens. And that was the point he
Yeah.
was making, is that, you know, we have to we have to be practical with our crime laws. And he's an ex gang member. I mean, he's, you know, he's from the real streets from back in the
Yeah.
'90s. So like you said, he's got a great story. As American Cholo, that interview is up on our homepage.
Yeah. It was awesome. Just like it,
Yeah, he's
you know,
great.
early on we talked about like small towns. You know, you can't do certain
Mm.
things in a small town because they'll come for you.
Hmm.
Um, and one of
Yep.
the things, I'm like in a small town, right? Like things you see in small towns you won't see in cities, and you'll get justice in a small town in a very very practical way and very quickly. And you can, you know, you can't get away with certain things because of small towns, because people know everybody. I had a lady walk up to my house, you know, basically that, you know, or my mum walked down to the, one time I got bullied, and like my mum walked to the guy's house and said, your son bullied my son. You know, the dad calls him out and goes, did you do that? He goes, yeah, I'll talk to you later. Right. And straight up, like, you can't see that happening in a city. No. But um, with that in mind, I think we're done. I'm so
Yeah,
glad
man.
we had this conversation, and hopefully, you know, the viewers, listeners, wherever you are, you enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to next week. We've got Robert Meyer Burnett on, another personality, and it's all about you can't really
He's
see
the
it, but
man.
it's
That's
all
gonna be great.
about, for me, it's all about this. It's
That's
all
great.
about my love, my 42 odd years of love for this thing. And I'm looking forward to it.
You guys
There's
are gonna have a great
nothing
talk,
else I can
man.
say. Yeah. I
He's
just,
the dude.
I didn't realize how much stuff he'd worked on. And I'm just so excited. So thank you, Paulie. Anything else you want to do a shout out? Anything before we finish here?
No, just if you guys are watching this on the replay, just subscribe to Plungecast. Uh, where are you at right now? Let's get him over 100 subs. He's at 82.
Yeah.
Let's rock it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah.
Mhm.
All the best, man. Yeah, I love what you had to say, and I'm glad I had you on. I'm glad we had this conversation, and I appreciate you coming on. Really do.
All right.
Right.
Same as well.
Kakita, I
Thank
know
you for the
everybody.
invite.
Hey, how do you say goodbye in Latino? Oh, you know,
In
Spanish.
Spanish,
Yeah.
Adios. Que le vaya
Adios.
bien. Hasta la próxima.
So many
Like,
ways.
yeah, it's basically goodbye. Uh, you know, go, you know, que te vayas bien, that you go well, and see you next time. Hasta la próxima.
All right, guys. Ka kite ano, sukriya, and farewell. And we'll see you next time.